Before we can start talk about the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, the question is always, where is Germany? Where is Berlin? So Germany is in the middle of Europe, surrounded by 9 different nations. Berlin is in the eastern part of Germany. Sorry. And it's just 1 hour away with a car from the Polish border. It's the biggest city in Germany. It's the capital of Germany. Was not always, but now it is. And even it's the biggest city. Also, Berlin started very, very small, like a small village, like every city have to start small. And because of the river Spree, this place here around was, there were a lot of islands here. So also the beginning of Berlin was on an island. And we are right now at the origin of that town. You have on the right place, on the right side, the oldest pub in Berlin. So after the people drank too much, they went to the church. That's the building in front of us, to confess what they have done. And after that, they could go sleep. So the houses, the buildings were built around the church. And this is how all villages started. The houses today, of course, they are rebuilt. It has been destroyed during the Second World War. But the church, the St. Nikolai Church, is the oldest building in Berlin. The question is why we are interested in the church if we talk about the history of Jehovah's Witnesses here in Germany and Berlin. And that's because here on the oldest building, we can find God's name on it. What you can see right now is a grave chapel. So this was built in the year 1715. And this rich guy was so rich that he could build the biggest grave chapel at the church. And it was so big that it became even a part of the wall of this church. And he put above, it's difficult to see it now, he put there God's name, Jehovah, in Hebrew language, the tetragrammaton JHWH on it. On my website, you can find also pictures and the research material where you can see this name much better. So we have on the oldest building of Berlin, God's name written on it. So it's a pretty good start about the history. But also inside that church was God's name. It's not today anymore. I can't tell you why, but for years, there was above a Gothic altar, there was the symbol of the all-seeing eye, and inside there was written in Latin language, Jehovah. So also inside that church, we could find God's name. And a church very close to this one is called the Klosterkirche, is also again God's name on it. Why again? In the 1930s, when the Nazis started to rule, they took it away because it's Hebrew, it's the Jewish language, and the Nazis tried to destroy everything that was connected to the Jews. And 80 days later, just 4, 5, 6 years ago, they put God's name back again on that church. We have also another church in Berlin-Buch, where in golden letters we can find God's name. And I got today a message, so it's not here on this video. I have to go there. I got another message where a sister found also God's name in another very unknown small church here in Berlin. So we have 4 times that we can find God's name, mostly on churches here, but also in other buildings. And that's the question, why? Why can we find God's name on so many buildings in Europe, or mostly to say in the northern part of Europe? There's a lot of buildings where you can find God's name. Why? Let's imagine you live in Berlin in that time. 400 or 500 years ago. Life is not easy. Life is even pretty brutal. There's no weekend yet, definitely not. It's not invented yet. The only free day is Sunday, the day of the Lord. And on the day of the Lord, you go to the house of the Lord, this is the church, to hear the man of the Lord, that's the priest, when he reads you something from the word of the Lord or God's word, the Bible. And you sit down in that church in St. Nikolaus and you want to be encouraged, you want to know what's the sense of your life here in this brutal life of this middle age. You don't even know that it's called the middle age, it will be called later. And this man in the church opened this big book and he reads you from God's word to encourage you, and he reads a Bible verse and it goes like that. And please guess this Bible verse. Et cognoscant quia nomen tibi Dominus, tu solus altissimus in omni terra. This was not German, this would be not fair for you if you have to guess this. But what Bible verse, I was reading. I'm pretty sure you have no idea, because this was in Latin. Nobody understands Latin. That's Psalm 83:18. But even in that time, nobody understood Latin. No, only the high-educated people like priests or professors or kings and queens could read and understand a little bit of this language. So how stupid it is to be in a building and to sit and listen to something that you don't understand. But this is how going to the church was at that time. So what happens is that more and more people started to translate the Bible. We know the names of William Tyndale and so on, to translate the Bible in the language of the people at that nation. And in Germany, it was Martin Luther. Not Martin Luther King, this is a few years later and completely different person. But the name, there's a connection, just Google it. But this man here, Martin Luther, he was a Catholic monk, and he did not like everything what is happening in the Catholic Church. So he wanted to change some stuff. He wanted to make the church better. And on the end, it was a big revolution, or in Germany we call it Reformation, and a new church exists now, a new Christian so-called church exists now, the Protestant Church. He translated the Bible into German language, the Greek scriptures in pretty a few weeks, and the Hebrew scriptures in years. And more people changed or now became Protestants, not Catholics. And that's the moment when we had here in Europe hundreds of years of religion wars, and these wars were between Christians, between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church. And because not only him, but also other people start to translate the Bible in the German language, but in English, Polish, French, and Swedish, and so on, they start to use more and more God's name in the places where it also should be, where the original scriptures have been. So what's happening is, that these Protestant people start to use also more God's name than the Catholics. But let's think first about could you just change your religion? Could you just become a Protestant because you said, oh, this is much better than the Catholics? Not really. It's your king. It's the landlord where you are living who decides if you are Catholic or if you are a Protestant. If he decides that he is Protestant, so also all the people living in his country have to be the same religion. So sometimes you change your religion even not knowing it. This could happen at that time. One of these men who did this was Gustav II Adolf. He is a Protestant Swedish king. And there was a war in the years 1618 to 1648 that changed complete Europe. And yeah, if you're good in math, you see, oh, this war runs for 30 years, and surprisingly, this war was called the 30 Years Long War. There was another war called the 100 Years Long War, which took more than 100 years, but here in that case, definitely 30 years. And this war changed completely Europe. This is really, we will talk about this later, how much this impacts on my life today in Germany. That war 400 years ago. And this Protestant church, Protestant king, who also attacked the place that we call today Germany. At that time, Germany did not exist. There were just a lot of small city-states who spoke German. He attacked these city-states, and on this war, he used, as you can see on his armor, God's name, Jehovah, on it. So here again, the question, why? Why on the buildings? Why he put this on his armor? Did they all believe in Jehovah? Probably not. Of course, we can ask them today, but probably mostly the reason why they used this name was as a talisman. They hoped that, God will protect them just because they're using this name there. In the case of Gustav II Adolf, it don't really help. This guy went on the war and he died. So in the battle, so definitely he was not protected. But more and more people start to use this name as a talisman, also to show I'm a Christian, but I'm not a Catholic, I'm a Protestant. In my hometown, when I was raised up in Braunschweig, there's also a house, and there you can see an inscription, Dear Lord Jehovah, please protect this house from, and then it's talking about the war and the plague and everything, what happened in the 30 years long war. But still, I didn't answer you why it's more in the northern part of Europe than in the southern part of Europe. Let's take a look on today's map of Germany. This is how Germany looks like today. And the places where the color is getting darker, this is where are more Catholic people, and the places where the color is brighter, this is where less Catholic people live. So you can see that like the northern part of Germany today live more Protestants than in the southern part. Why is that? The Swedish kings, when they attacked here Europe during this 30 years long war, they never conquered the southern part of Germany, at that time called Bavaria, and this place stayed Catholic until today. But Prussia and all these northern places became Protestants. Berlin became a Protestant state, and this is until today. We in Berlin have 6 less holidays than the people in Munich, in Bavaria, because they are celebrating a Catholic saint and don't go to work when we have to. Even if you work in the same company, if you work in a big company, I know, let's say Volkswagen, and you work in Berlin, you have to go to work, and your colleagues in Munich have a day off. That's why this nation is divided in south and north in a religious way. And as I promised you, on the end of the tour, I will explain you why is this a big thing for us here in Germany.